All right. After a very long 6-week break, we're talking to Penny again. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to see you.
Yeah, me too. And today we're going to pick up where we left off in our very first episode that we recorded with Penny, which is Draco hybrids created by the CIA, where we briefly talked about a being called Baphomet and what he was involved in on Earth. And then we said that he was taken into custody a couple of years before that. Let's revisit the events that you actually lived on Earth and what you remember about him, because we didn't describe him physically then.
Okay.
No.
I was approximately 14, and I was picked up at the bus stop, which was a mile from my house. And it was one of those black Lincoln Continental cars. And they identified themselves as CIA. And I lived in Lancaster, California, which is just across the mountains from Los Angeles. And they drove me. They said they were taking me to a party. And I got there. And my memories are just blood everywhere. And it was a large house, what in California at that time we would call a mansion. It was a rich people house.
Okay.
And they had this huge backyard with a pool. And people were around the pool, but there was blood everywhere when I got back there. And Baphomet was an alpha drac, a red alpha drac, which means that he was genetics with the royals, because the royals are white or red. And he was wearing a black Armani suit.
Wow.
And people were holding up babies for him to eat.
So not just one baby.
No, it wasn't just one. It was all these people around me, and the place they were all covered in blood. And the babies were kicking and screaming, because they were terrified. And I guess I was there about 2 hours. And the men who had brought me took me into the bathroom and had me take a shower, get all the blood off. They cleaned my clothes while I was in the shower. And then they took me home. And on the way back, they said that they had seen the report of my creation. That was the term they used. And that they had been concerned about someone with that much Draco DNA added to me to be loose in the general population. And that this had been a test to see if I would shapeshift. And if I had, they would have killed me on the spot. This was my first death threat from the CIA that I'm aware of.
This would be around 1969, 70?
70.
Okay.
This would be around 1970. I only lived in Lancaster for a year.
Okay.
So I know it was that year. We moved there in 69 and moved away in 70. So that gives you the exact time frame. Yeah, my parents were just absolutely livid that I had gotten lost coming home from the bus stop when it was a straight shot down the driveway. They were absolutely livid because these guys dropped me off at the end of the driveway and they disappeared and left me to face control freak father. So, no, I didn't shapeshift. I still don't shapeshift. My eyes change color. They're green when I wake up in the morning and they're gray when I go to sleep. But it has to do with my energy levels. But I don't do the slit eyes and I don't suddenly grow scales or any of that. And if I had, I would have been dead then and you would have never known me.
Can you describe Baphomet? You said he was wearing a suit, and how big was he?
Baphomet was on the small side for a Draco.
Okay.
He was about 12 feet tall.
Right.
So he was over twice my size.
Mm-hmm.
And filled out, muscular. He didn't look human. He looked like a dragon in a suit.
Wow. So he had this big suit on him?
He had this suit that fit him. It was made for him. His wings came out the back, his tail came out the back, and he was dressed in this suit. And it was designer and fit him well.
Did you recognize any people who were there?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't really I've never been into celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
And if any of them had been celebrities, I wouldn't have recognized them anyway.
Okay.
We didn't go to movies. My family didn't. We didn't follow a lot of stars. We had a TV, but we were only allowed to watch it for an hour or two a day.
I see.
So
All right. Do you remember anything else about Baphomet? Something that stood out, maybe? What did he do there?
He acted like he thought he was God.
Okay.
And like all of this was due him, that this was their normal behavior around him and to be expected. And he was happy about it.
Okay.
And he was encouraging the partying. And he was the only Draco that was there. And there were, the backyard was filled. I wouldn't even venture to guess how many people there were, but it was almost standing room only except for the pool.
Wow.
And there was no official ritual that I saw. It may have happened before I got there to summon him. But
and he would and he would portal in, come in through the portal or something?
I have no idea because he was there when I got there and he was still there when I left.
Okay. Wow.
Now, oh gee, I guess it was about 2017. I had telepathic contact with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew I was trying to stop what he was doing. And I heard this deep male voice in my head saying, "Oh, no one has challenged me for centuries. This is going to be fun." And for some reason, I didn't shake in my boots, you know? I don't know why not, because I should have been scared of that, but I wasn't. That was the time frame I was becoming aware of the altar serving in the Galactic Authority Court.
Mm-hmm.
I have times when I see her world through her eyes. I don't think I affect her actions. I think I'm just seeing and hearing, witnessing it. I've seen her uniform. It's a two-piece long sleeve shirt and skirt, and they both have what we call princess seaming. I don't know what they would call it there. And the side panels are black. The front and back middle panels are white, but they have tucks. So from a distance, it looks like stripes, but it's actually sewn into the fabric. And they're double-breasted with gold buttons.
Okay.
And I've seen her put it on, so I know that's what her uniform is. There's little white ankle boots that go with it. I don't remember a cap, but my altar there is a bailiff, and I don't know if they have that function in Russian courts or not.
We do.
It's a very basic servant role. It's not like I'm important. I am considered an officer of the court and expected to live to certain standards required of officers of the court. But basically my job is taking care of the prisoners and handing stuff from the attorneys to the judges and serving summons and arrest warrants. Serving the arrest warrants is probably the only dangerous part of the job because not everybody likes being arrested. But because I'm an officer of the court and I'm sitting there through the proceedings or standing next to the bench where the judges are, I hear everything that goes on.
Okay.
And it's telepathic. So I hear it in English. So I don't know what their words for things are because I hear it in English. Now, there are 5 races. It's called the Council of 5 that the judges for this court are pulled from. Most of them are varieties of gray. One of them resembles tall whites, but has this kind of glow about them that makes them hard to photograph. I gave you the artwork that I got from the KGB book. The KGB alien book is still the most reliable source about extraterrestrials that I've seen.
Wow.
So y'all did a good job.
And that was from what, the 80s, something like that? 70s?
Yeah, that was from the 70s or 80s.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's still the most reliable version I've seen.
And they have the most horrible mugshots there.
Oh God, they're but they are what we have to describe these beings.
So the 5 that you're saying that there are 5 judges, and the pictures
there are 5
that
judges.
we're going to put on the screen, these are the races. That's what they look like.
Yes, that's what they look like.
Oh my God. And the skinny bob, even the skinny bob type, I would say.
The skinny bob type
Okay.
is there. And these are the folks that are judging whether the accused are going to live or die. So you take them seriously. You show up in front of these guys and it's a serious court with serious power. There are 3 outcomes. If you're proven to be innocent, they let you go.
Okay.
If you're proven to be guilty, they blow up your head in court. There is no arranging anything else. They blow up your head in court. They put a force field around you so it doesn't mess up the place.
Oh my God.
It feels really barbaric. I've witnessed it more than once. The other outcome is you plead guilty but repentant. In which case, if they find you actually are guilty, because they go ahead with the trial like they're proving your guilt or innocence. And if they find you guilty but repentant, you are removed from any offices that you hold. You're not allowed to have power over others. And they fit your head with a bomb inside it. And if you relapse, your head blows up.
Very
Now,
effective.
it's a very primitive, very effective justice system. You don't get repeat offenders.
Okay, let's back up a little so people understand. You have an alter
Mm-hmm.
in another body.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a clone of you?
I think so, because she looks like me.
Okay.
But she appears younger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm 68 at this point. She appears to be about 30, 31.
Okay. And she's serving at this Galactic court.
Yes.
Do you know how she?
I do not know how she got there. I
Right.
do not know how they got her.
Okay.
You know, there's all kinds of deals behind the scenes. They may have just told the folks that own me, we're taking one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because when they do the mind fracture and set up the altar system, they do sell
Right.
use of an altar with a tissue sample to grow a clone for it.
Okay. So an alter is a full-grown person. When we say an alter, it's a person, a clone person with you could say a personality package in it, but not
It
yours, but
has it has my entire consciousness in it with that particular facet,
okay.
fragment
Mm-hmm.
activated. So the rest of me in it is like basically asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And for the duration, because they take you in a loop, for the duration, my body, my physical self is in stasis. And if that clone that I'm in should die for any reason,
Mm-hmm.
my entire consciousness returns to the body that's in stasis. They wake me up and bring me back. So those are also time loops.
Okay, so it's like a double time loop then. The time
You
loop,
can be you can be out thousands of time loops at the same time.
and you're saying that they all have all these copies of you there. They all have your full consciousness that is not
Uh-huh.
fully present there.
They all it takes you okay, how would you separate out a chunk of the soul and have one
Yeah.
piece here and one piece there and another piece there and have any functionality at all?
Well,
It's so much easier to just transfer the entire consciousness and activate the part you want. I've
the
been awake for it, and it's
mm-hmm,
really disconcerting.
mm-hmm,
You're in your body, you feel dizzy for a couple of minutes, and then you're in some other body looking back at yours, and you look dead.
mm-hmm.
And then they pull you out of the tank, hose you off, and activate the altar they want. That's how I know it's all of me there.
Okay. Okay.
It's because I've been awake for it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't they don't care if I'm awake or not. I mean, I'm like a truck. They don't care.
So you're transferred to another body, which is a clone that they want to use later.
And sometimes that clone has been modified to be male, and sometimes it's
Right.
female, and
Wow.
sometimes it has other things added.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's in a machine, and it's whenever that we're talking an altar, that altar has a certain design specifications
Mm-hmm.
that
So
this body may not.
yeah. Okay. Right. So they transfer you, you're fully conscious that it's still you as you know yourself
Uh-huh.
to be here. And then they
Uh-huh.
activate a different, you could say a mode or a channel in your consciousness, right?
Fractal,
A fractal, yeah. A
fractal, or
specific function.
they have each of these altars has their own set of codes
Mm-hmm.
to activate you, to put you on task, to have you debrief, tell your bosses what you did. Another code to tell the agency that thinks it owns you, to debrief to them. There's a Omega code if you're found out, and it will it will jeopardize the organization. They don't care if they lose you or not. And the Omega Code has caused a lot of trouble with the super soldiers.
It's the self-destruction.
It's self-destruction, and you also destroy anyone you may have talked to. So when it pops up, they kill themselves, they kill their families, they kill their therapists, they kill anybody that's working with them. They go through and kill lots of people. And this was a real problem for the super soldier part. When a group of us women came into this community, we said, this is ridiculous. You can fight Omega programming. But we have to stop this chest-thumping macho culture to do it. You have to start saying, I need help. And then help each other instead of being some jerk that says, oh, you're a wuss.
Anyway, back to the court. So
back to the court.
You ended up in this altar.
They have a set of rules that the name for it translates into prime or first. And that is a real thing. It's not just one little rule like they had in Star Trek. It's a whole body of regulations about how advanced races interact with primitive ones. And I know the whole New Age movement thinks we're an advanced race, but we're not. We are a very primitive race. We are monkeys with fear issues.
Okay.
Monkeys that talk and build houses and farm. So, yeah, I think so highly of my people, but I still don't want us dead. Okay.
And so Baphomet ended up in this court.
Okay, because I was having bleed over with that altar, I planted a question in that other me that, okay, under the prime, as long as the victim doesn't say no, whatever you do to it is legal. I said, what about babies? Because they kick and scream when they're saying no. And every time I've seen one of these sacrifices, the babies are kicking and screaming, saying no. And she asked the equivalent of the district attorney, the prosecutor, why they couldn't use that. And the prosecutors held a meeting and went through the legal doctrines of it. And then she came back and arrested him with a team of guardians. They are military police. And he thought he had crossed all of his T's and dotted all of his I's and had everything letter perfect, and it was that he was going to get out of this. So he was sitting being really arrogant and disrespectful in court. And the judges went along with the doctrine that pre-verbal children in a non-telepathic society like ours say no by kicking and screaming. They bought it. So all of these adults that had been sacrificed to him, nobody cared. All of the teenagers that had been sacrificed, nobody cared. All of the little kids that can chatter their heads off, but had never said no, nobody cared. We got him on eating babies. And he was absolutely livid, angry. He thought there was no way this would work. And they put him inside the force field and blew up his head and took his consciousness and turned it over to the Lords of Karma. And I don't know what they're going to do to him, but they've got him, and the court said that they had him until he learned the error of his ways. But what was he doing? He was letting them torture children to produce adrenochrome.
Okay.
And he was an adrenochrome addict. And he had figured out that he could come to Earth, pretend to be some sort of deity, use his psionic abilities, which are much greater than any humans, to give them what they wanted in exchange for adrenochrome. So he not only got his own fix, but he was selling it to others. Adrenochrome is the most valuable drug in the galaxy. We have a lot of races out there who are barely able to feel any emotions. And with adrenochrome, they do. They feel fear. They also are smarter on it. Tony Rodriguez talked about that when they forced him to partake, that he was a lot smarter until it wore off. That's true.
Wow.
So in a lot of ways, it's like methamphetamine, but you're smarter. And for races that don't feel anything, it's like enough of a boost that they can feel while they're on it. And personally, what's the point of being in a body if you don't feel?
So what you're saying is there is a legal system out there that is not very elaborate, evidently, or wasn't. They had a loose jurisdiction over what's going on Earth, but not really deep enough to stop real crime, right?
Okay. It's what you call real crime. That's the issue for them. I don't know what they do in Russia, but in America, a lot of people let things slide. They don't say no.
Okay.
And as long as you don't say no, there's no crime under galactic law.
Yes.
You have to say no. In fact, if you don't say no, they take it that you've said yes, just like our archaic rape laws. If the woman doesn't say no, she gave consent.
Okay.
Whether she's conscious or not doesn't matter. She can have her mouth taped shut. But she didn't say no, so it's legal. There's no crime. Now, that's the way their law operates. So you come into this world where everybody votes. You vote for who's going to run your country. Now, it doesn't matter to them if the vote's rigged, or if you only have one candidate, or if both candidates are corrupt, or if the one that's elected turns out to be Jack the Ripper. None of that matters. You voted, which meant you gave your consent to be ruled by whoever was announced to be the leader. Now,
okay, very simple physical system.
Very simple, because it goes for every
3D.
Every planet in 3D in this galaxy follows these same rules.
Okay.
So it's a very basic system. Now, if you want that stuff to be stopped, you have to start saying no. There are people out there in the occult community who understand you have to say no. The trouble is we've got all the Abrahamic faiths teach submission. New Age teaches submission. New Age even says don't look at it if you don't like it. You know, what you oppose will persist. What you resist persists. That's how they put it. And you never stop it that way, because by your silence, you give consent. You have to say no. There are a lot of people who say no, 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 but when it comes right down to it, they will comply. They will do as the order says. And that gives consent too if you do the actions. If you really want to resist, you have to say no and stand behind it with your actions. You don't have to be violent. You don't have to be nasty, but you have to not comply.